In this video, you'll solve quadratic functions by factoring, taking roots, completing the square, and using the quadratic formula. To start, let's make sure that we understand the difference between a quadratic equation and a quadratic function. So a quadratic equation is going to already be set equal to 0. So in this case, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. We do have to say that a cannot equal 0 because clearly if a were 0, we just have bx plus c, which is not a quadratic but linear. For a quadratic function, we give this function a name, f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. But very often, when we want to find the zeros of a function, what we do is we set the function equal to 0. So we would actually turn this quadratic function into a quadratic equation. And what we're saying there is what are the x values that make the function value equal to 0. So, first of all, to solve, the most important and powerful tool that we have is what's called the zero product rule. And it says if a times b equals 0, then either a is 0 or b is 0. And that's really powerful because if two things multiply to 100, not one of them doesn't have to be 100. So what we're saying is if you multiply two things together and you get 0, one of those has to be 0. So for our first example, this is already in factored form. So basically we just set x minus 5 equal to 0 and x plus 3 equal to 0. And when solving, we just get x equals 5 and x equals negative 3. So we actually get two answers. That's very typical for a quadratic, although sometimes we get only one answer, and even sometimes we get no answer. No real answer, I should say. Okay, so here's another one. 10x squared minus 16x plus 6. Now, with factoring, one thing that we always want to do is look for a greatest common factor, and I notice right away that these are all even. So I'm going to factor out a 2 and get 5x squared minus 8x plus 3 equals 0. And then factoring further, I notice that 5 times 3 is 15, so I need two numbers that multiply to 15 that add to 8. So add to minus 8, minus 3. And then I like to divide by the lead coefficient here and reduce. So this will be minus 1 over 1 and minus 3 over 5. And then I'm going to take these bottom numbers up and put an x with them. And I will get x minus 1 and 5x minus 3. So we should check ourselves. 5x squared minus 3x minus 5x gives us minus 8x, and then negative 1 times negative 3 gives us 3. Don't forget to bring that 2 down. Now, often I get, well, where does the 2 go? Well, you can think of it two different ways. You could divide both sides by 2, and 0 divided by 2 is still 0. So we would get x minus 1 is 0, or 5x minus 3 is 0. So we'll add 1 here. We'll add 3 on this one, and then divide by 5 and get 3/5. The other thing that you can do is just say, well, x minus 1 is 0, 5x minus 3 is 0, and 2 is equal to 0, but clearly 2 is not equal to 0, so we just get rid of it. Okay, now notice that the first two were set equal to 0, and that this third one is not set equal to 0. So the first thing that we need to do is move our 12 over. So we'll add 12 so that we get it equal to 0. Remember, it's called the zero product property. And this one factors nicely. Things that multiply to 12 that add to negative 7 are minus 3 and minus 4. And so we'll set each one of these equal to 0. and we'll get positive 3 and positive 4. Now, if you need a review of factoring, there are other videos out there for that. This particular one, part B, lots of different ways to do that. You can factor by grouping. You can do this method, which I call bottoms up. You can do trial and error, but you do have options there. All right, the second way to solve a quadratic is by taking roots. And the number one thing that you have to remember when you take roots is to take the positive and the negative square root. So if you're going to put the square root into the equation, you have to consider both the positive and the negative. So, for example, if we have something squared and we take the square root of each side, the square goes away, but then on the other side we get positive or negative root a. So we're going to do that here. So we want to make sure that our squared piece is by itself. So we're going to have 7x squared equals 28. And then I'm going to divide through by 7 and get x squared equals 4. And then I'll take the square root of each side, remembering to take both the positive and the negative root, and I'll get x is positive or negative 2. So actually 2 answers, 2 and negative 2. Okay, for our next example, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to subtract 5 from each side. 3x squared equals negative 5. I'm going to divide through by 3, and then I'm going to take the square root of each side, remembering that when I do that, I do positive and negative. Okay, so this one's a negative underneath the square root, and we just learned that that negative sign can come out as an I. So we have positive or negative I times root 5 over root 3. And this is a good opportunity to refresh your memory on rationalizing the denominator. We don't like to have a radical in the denominator, so we're going to multiply by root 3 over root 3. That's 1. And we'll get plus or minus I root 15 all over, because in that denominator, square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 9, and square root of 9 is 3. All right, so notice on this third one that I don't necessarily have to have just a single x squared. As long as I have a quantity that's squared, I can do the same thing. So in this case, I'm going to take the square root, and I'm going to get x minus 3 on the left and positive or negative root 6 on the other side. And then I'm going to add 3, and it's fairly typical to put the 3 in front of the radical. So 3 plus or minus root 6. It's actually 2 answers, 3 plus root 6 and 3 minus root 6. We just use that shorthand. Okay, another way to solve a quadratic is to do what we call completing the square. And when we complete the square, what we do is we create a situation like this last example here so that we can take roots. So what we're going to do is we're going to move our constant out of the way. We're going to take half of the middle coefficient and square it. And we're going to add that to both sides of the equation. Then we're going to factor, and then we're going to take roots. So let's take a look at an example. Okay, so this is not a perfect square. So we're going to, in this case, move our constant out of the way. I'm going to add 10 to each side. And you'll notice I like to leave a little spot here. So I'm going to, all I did was move that 10. And I'm going to take half of negative 6, which is negative 3. And negative 3 squared is 9. So we're going to add 9 to each side of this equation. Now what I've done is I have now made this a perfect square trinomial. It shouldn't be too difficult to factor because it's always going to be this half before you square it. So this is x minus 3 quantity squared equals 19. And then we can take our roots and get x minus 3 equals plus or minus root 19. And then adding 3 plus or minus root 19. Here is another example. So we're going to move our 25 over to the other side, negative 25. We will take half of 8, which is 4, positive 4, and square it. So we'll add 16 here, and we'll add 16 here. This will factor on the left as x plus 4 squared and negative 9. And then when I take the square root of each side, plus or minus, I'll get x plus 4 equals plus or minus 3i. And then if I subtract 4, minus 4, plus or minus 3i. So again, in this case, we got two imaginary solutions. Over here, in this example, we got two irrational solutions. All right, so just because I know a lot of teachers just give you the quadratic formula, I like to show people where it comes from, and then we'll do a couple of examples on how to use it. So where does it come from? If I just take this quadratic and I complete the square, so I'm going to start with ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And I'm going to divide through by a because when we complete the square, we want just that x squared. So we have x squared plus b over ax. And I'm going to take the opportunity now to move my constant over. This is 0, and so we'll subtract c over a. So we want to add the same thing to both sides of the equation to keep it balanced. And we're going to take 1/2 of b over a, and we're going to square it. So we're going to get b squared over 4a squared. Okay, on the left here, we have learned that it factors as half of that middle term squared. And on the right-hand side, I would like to have a common denominator of 4a squared. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 4a. So we have now minus 4ac plus b squared all over 4a squared. I'm adding those because they have common denominator. And then I'll take roots. So I'll take the roots here, plus or minus, and we have x plus b over 2a, because the square root and the square make them go away. They're inverse operations, equals plus or minus the square root. I'm just going to change the order of the numerator, so I'm going to make it b squared minus 4ac. And also, and we have to be careful how we write this, I can actually take the square root of 4a squared. It's just 2a, so I don't want that underneath the radical anymore. And then as a final step, I'm going to move this b over 2a over, and what you'll notice is we get x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, because they have the common denominator. And that is our quadratic formula. So often we use the quadratic formula over completing the square because it really is completing the square. It's just doing it in a formulaic way. So let's look at a few examples. What we need to know is that this has to be set equal to 0. So in this particular case, we're going to make this 5x squared plus 3x minus 1 equals 0. So in this case, a is 5, b is 3, and c is negative 1. See how important it is to move that over. It's not just the constant, it has to be set equal to 0. And then we plug it into our formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a, which is 5, times c, which is negative 1, all over 2a, which is 2 times 5. And then we simplify. So negative 3, this becomes 9 plus 20, so the square root of 29, all over 10. Now, I wanted to mention this here. I recommend writing down the b squared as a b squared. So in this case, rather than writing 3 squared, I would write 9. For a couple reasons. One, it cleans it up when you're doing it, but also often I see students write negative 3 squared, which is 9, but that's technically incorrect because you don't have those parentheses. So it's just a recommendation to put your b squared down as a square before you, when you write it down. Okay. Let's do another example. Oh, and by the way, this is x equals, right? X equals, and there's 2 answers here. All right, find the zeros, which means set this function equal to 0. So we've got x squared plus 5x plus 8 equals 0. In this case, a is 1, b is 5, and c is 8. And we'll get x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. And cleaning this up, what you notice is that it's 25 minus 32, or negative 7. So we have the square root of negative 7. And then we would write this as negative 5 plus or minus I root 7 over 2. So we're actually just going to take that negative sign out of the radical as an I. Just a quick note, something that I want to call your attention to. The first is when you're writing this, make sure, let's do this, 10. So oftentimes I see students write something like this, and it's not clear that the negative b, or this part, is under the radical, so make sure it's all over. Extend your fraction bar. And then I also often see people try to cancel these 5s. We don't want to do that. What we do want to do is on the top, let's factor out a 5. That will leave us negative 1 plus or minus 2 root 5 over 5, and then we can reduce that. But I really have to reduce by dividing into both of these, so it's better to factor it out first. That concludes this video on solving quadratic functions.